guys, so today we're gonna do a sit down chatty get ready with me. I'm gonna show you how I've been doing my everyday like clean / minimal makeup, and a little while ago I did an Instagram poll asking what topic we wanted to talk about first, and the 4 topics I listed were content creating, therapy, friends, and dating was the winner, so we're gonna talk about that first. I asked you all for some questions, so let's just get right into it. For the makeup, I'm gonna use the 24-hour brow setter from Benefit. This is a really good brow product that just sets my brow hairs and puts them in place. It's like glue. Like, it's actually a little bit of a struggle to take it off at the end of the day, but it's so good. While that's drying, I'm gonna move on to foundation. I've been using the Maybelline Fit Me foundation in the shade 220. This is the Dewy and Smooth formula. For the first question, how has dating changed as a priority for you over time? It's changed quite a bit since last year, I would say. I'd always been open to the idea of dating someone, but I never really went after it, because I just felt like I had so many other things I wanted to focus on in my life. There were just so many things that I wanted to do. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I had quit my full-time job about 5 years ago and focused on YouTube and social media full time, and that was so stressful. And I really wanted to focus on making a stable income, making this work, and making this a priority and not being distracted so much. I've only been in one serious-ish relationship, and that was in college, so it's been a while. But I learned so much from that relationship in the sense that I give a lot of myself to someone else. Like, I don't know how to find that balance. I didn't really put me first and the things that I wanted to do, and so I just didn't want that to happen again. Last year, when I moved into this apartment, I felt like things had gotten more stable. I wasn't so worried about making rent anymore, and I felt more sure of myself and ready to date, like whatever that means. And that's when I started taking dating more seriously. I kind of realized I wanted to start dating pre-COVID and take it more seriously, but then COVID happened and that changed a lot of things. I'll be on like a dating app for a month, and then I'll take like a 3 to 4 month break because it's just so exhausting. It's so interesting the things you hear as a single woman. Like, I remember someone asked me if I was dating, and I was like, no, like I'm just focused on work. And then she literally was like, oh, that's okay, like you'll find someone. And I'm like, okay, like I didn't know this was something to be pitied about. And that was when I wasn't even trying to date. Now that I'm trying to date, it's even worse. I'll get so many comments of like, oh, that didn't work out, well that's okay, like now you have time to focus on yourself. And jokingly I'll say like, I'm tired of focusing on myself, like that's all I think about. But on a more serious note, it's like I do focus on myself. Like, what do you think I've been doing this whole time? Now I just try not to get offended by that, because I can only control how I feel about things, and everything is just a projection, and it's what people feel. And the person who's like, oh, you'll find someone soon, that's how she felt about her and her dating life. Like, that has nothing to do with me. That's none of my business. I'm using the Sephora collection brow pencil to fill in my brows. Okay, filling in these brows took forever today. We're just gonna move on. I swear my best work is always off camera. So long story short, to answer your question, dating has become more of a priority for me, but it's also not all consuming. I'm trying to be more proactive about it because I've always wanted to have a family, and I think that would just be really beautiful. But it's rough out here, you know? I'm gonna bronze next. This is the Rare Beauty Happy Soul bronzer stick. And then for the next question, did you ever feel ready when you first started dating? I'm scared to put myself out there. This is a really hard question to answer. It's gonna be different for everyone. I think for me, there's gonna be times where I feel like I am more willing and like want to date, and times that I don't. But in terms of being ready, you're never really ready or prepared for anything that's to come. You just don't know. For me, I did have to reach a certain level of comfort and confidence and stability for me to really be comfortable dating, or even just trying to date. It also doesn't hurt to put yourself out there to get some dating experience. Like, even in the past when I wasn't as stable or wasn't as confident. I still went on a few dates here and there, you know, just to see what it was like. It's just all about getting comfortable, and the only way you can get comfortable through things like that is through experience and practice and like talking to people, and you're only gonna know what you want by dating and having these experiences, or knowing what you don't want in my case. So the answer is yes and no. Totally makes sense that you're scared to put yourself out there, but really, what do you have to lose? If it's awful, you never have to see them again if you don't want to, and if it goes great, it goes great. Obviously, be as safe as you can if you're meeting someone for the first time. Something my therapist does is ask me, what's the worst that could happen? And then I tell her the worst thought I could possibly imagine, and then it's not so bad. It's like, oh, I guess that's it. What are some green flags and red flags for you? I do have a few red flags, but they could also be green flags if you think about it reversely. The very first one is love bombing. I feel like we hear that a lot, but it is so true. There was this one guy I went on a date with, and he would say all these nice things to me and say how much he really liked me, and I'd be like, well, I mean, I like you enough to like get to know you more, but I really don't know you. And then he ended up slow ghosting me after we hooked up. I feel like people love bomb because they want to hook you in and have that power and like make sure that you are hooked on them or that you like them. And it's also just weird because it's like, why are you saying all these nice things before you've really had a chance to get to know me? Because if they're fast to jump in, it's gonna be so fast to fizzle out also. I always hear you want that slow burn kind of love, the people who take their time to get to know you. Another thing that I look out for is how they talk about women and their exes. Like, is it from a good light? Is it from like a self-aware, this is what I've learned experience? Or are they just talking shit? I dated one guy who called his girlfriends crazy, and it always stuck out to me. And he never had a legit reason as to why he was calling someone crazy. So that was kind of like a red flag to me, just like the labeling before really being compassionate and understanding of the situation, what was going on. One of the last red flags for me is convenient dates or unplanned dates, like just messaging you last minute to see if you're free for later tonight. And it's done in a way that's like, oh, if you're free, let's do something, which, you know, sounds nice, but it's still not as nice as a planned, thoughtful date. And it makes me wonder, like, are you only hanging out with me because you have nothing else better to do? You're not really setting aside time and committing time for me in the future. So on the reverse, the green flag would be putting in effort to plan a date. So those are some of my green/red flags. I'm sure there's a lot more, but those are the top ones in my head based off of my most recent experience. I've been using this mini lash curler to curl my lashes, and it's been really helping to give me perky lashes. I just need my mirror really close. So give me a sec. Okay, so I'm gonna do this as like a two-parter question because they're kind of related. Do you have dating app experience? And how do you find your way around dating in person opposed to dating apps? So I have been on dating apps. I've been on Hinge, Coffee Meets Bagel, Raya. I even signed up for OkCupid because I got a tarot card reading, and the tarot card reader was like, why don't you just try OkCupid and like shift the energy? It didn't work in shifting the energy, but I was on there for a day and I will never go back there. It's a very dark place on OkCupid. I've never really been a dating app person. I was a very late adopter when it came to that, just because I'd love to meet someone in person and just more organically. I go off of feeling a lot, and it's gonna sound so dumb, but vibes. You know what I'm talking about. When you meet someone, you just get a feel of who they are, and that's what I like. But being on the dating apps, it's really hard to get that. So I've never really been a fan, and I've not had much luck with it. All of the dates that I've gone on are pretty much from the dating app, and I've never met someone in person and then gone on a date with them. So I'm probably not the best person to be getting dating advice, and I don't think this was meant to be a dating advice video. It was just like a catch up, here's my experience kind of thing. I definitely heard stories about people being successful with dating apps. It's just not me. That's just not my story at all. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm doing something wrong in my profile. But it's not the place for me. I've been using the Lash Food Lash Serum, and it's helped my lashes grow so much. It definitely took a little while to see dramatic results, but I love it. So I curl with the mini lash curler, but I follow it up with the regular one so that it's more cohesive. Dating within and outside of your race / culture, thoughts and experiences. I've only been on dates with Asian guys. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Some of them have been Chinese, Korean, Indian, Vietnamese, but all Asian. I'm not opposed to dating outside of Asian men, but it's just never really clicked or like made it that far. Maybe it's a little self-fulfilling, I don't know. I do just feel like it would be easier to connect with someone who's Asian because of like the cultural differences and having a better understanding of family dynamics and family obligations and what it means to be in a Chinese family. I think it's also important to note, like after 2020 and everything that's happened, I am just much more aware of how different I really am to a lot of people, and I just don't want to get into a relationship with someone who might have an Asian fetish. That's a big concern for me. I wanted to ask you, is it weird if you're 19 and you do not have a serious relationship yet? I would say no. 19 is so young. Like, I know a lot of people who had relationships in high school, and while some of them go on to be high school sweethearts and get married, a lot of my friends who had relationships in high school almost don't even count their high school relationships as serious relationships just because you have so much life ahead of you and you've barely experienced the real world yet. So don't even stress. Like, you have so much time ahead of you. If everyone around you is in a relationship, like, don't even stress, don't compare. Like, you're on your own type of journey. Like, don't worry about it. You are so young. Not dating related, sorta, but how do you feel about friends with benefits / fuck buddies? I feel like this is definitely dating related. I'm on the side of no to friends with benefits because for a majority of people it just never really ends well. One person always ends up having feelings for the other, and then it gets very possessive and jealous. And I think if you are to have a friends with benefits type of situationship with someone, like, be very honest with what it is you want out of it. I was kind of like fuck buddies with my ex in college, and I think in hindsight, I thought I was okay with it because I thought maybe we'd get back together, and I have a couple friends who did the same, thinking the same would happen. But if you do that, you're just kind of setting yourself up for very possible disappointment. You know, everyone makes their own decisions, so do whatever makes you the happiest. Just for me, that's not something that I ever want to do again. It just gets really messy. And I'm not for that. I feel like if you are looking for something more long-term, being in a friends with benefits situation kind of delays that in a way. I'm also the kind of person who wants to feel something when it comes to having sex, and the times where that wasn't the case, I just felt really shitty after. I felt very used and just not great, and it doesn't do well for my self-esteem or my confidence to just feel like a fucking cow, to be straight up. I'm gonna put on my lip color. This is Tom Ford's lipstick in Forbidden Pink. The last question I thought was so funny. How much should you tolerate? And the answer is very little. I will always be the first one to call myself out when it comes to dumb bitch behavior. I've dated guys who've had no job, guys who've had no car, and was on the verge of selling drugs. I thought it was fine. Like, oh, they'll get a job soon, they just moved here. Or he sold his car, but I think he's gonna get one soon. My standard was so low because I kept dating for the potential and what it could be, but will probably never will be. So how much did you tolerate? Yeah, very little. I don't know, I just feel like if you're starting to date someone and you're already tolerating things, like, how is it gonna go for the rest of that relationship? I think I tolerated so much because when I first started dating again, I just had a bit of that scarcity mindset, or was just really unsure of myself. Like, if it wasn't gonna work out with this guy, it wouldn't work out with anyone else. Or maybe like, this is the best that it's gonna get and I don't wanna like go find someone else and start over. I think that's why it's good to put yourself out there. Even if you're not sure, you're not ready, it's just really good to learn more about yourself and know what you deserve. It's definitely not easy. It's like a huge undertaking to put yourself out there. I mean, that shit put me in therapy. I was like, I need to get my head sorted because dating sucks. And I need a better way of like coping and handling these situations. I'm really sorry if this wasn't like the fun dating video you were hoping for. I haven't enjoyed dating very much. I love the idea of meeting someone and getting to know them and learning new things, new perspectives that I've never heard before, but I've been on a lot of awful dates. If I were to leave you with one piece of advice, and this is advice like I wish I could have given myself, or I would give to my younger self, trust your instincts and go with your gut and listen to the way your body feels. Looking back on all these dates and these guys that I've met, I feel like there were always things that were questionable that I was like, that doesn't sound right, or that doesn't make me feel right, but I would always ignore it, or I would just let it slide and then it would come up again. And then the things that I had issue with in the beginning, kind of like flags, pink flags, I guess, ended up being red flags and ended up being the reason why it didn't work out in the end. So if I had just listened to my gut and trusted it more in the first place, then a lot of these things wouldn't have lasted as long as they did. So don't betray yourself and don't betray your feelings is what I'm saying. And one thing about me I've noticed is when I make a decision, I have so much doubt about that decision afterwards. Like I play the what if, like what if I did this? What if I did that? Would it have worked out any differently? And I feel like sometimes that's why I let things go as far as they do, because it has to get to that point of no return, but it's so miserable, you know? So that's something that I've learned through dating and therapy and also just meeting new people in general, is to just always trust your gut and don't betray yourself, don't gaslight your feelings. So those are all the questions that I'm going to answer for this Q&A. If you have more about dating or any of the other topics, therapy, content creating, friendships, just leave them down below so we can talk about them in the next one. And if you have any good dating tips, stories, experiences, please leave them down below. Oh, by the way, this is the final look. This has been my like glowy, fresh face, clean girl makeup look that I've been doing every day. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in my next one.